Food has no boundaries. Everyone treasures their own cuisines, but for newcomers, food takes on other meanings. They diligently preserve their cuisine to give a taste of home to their new American home, instill the love of their home country to their children, and lastly, proudly represent their culture in our America the Beautiful. Spice and Recipe does all the above by introducing recipes from different countries enriched with human stories and comparison of tradition. Hi, I'm Mike DiGiacomo, a born and raised American and a food lover, and I invite you to join me as we discover the origins of flavor, the journey of spices, and the recipes of the world. Welcome to this episode of Spice and Recipe, the origins of flavor. I'm your host, Mike DiGiacomo, a born and raised American and a food lover. Today we're going to discover the most expensive spice of all, and that's saffron, otherwise known as the red gold. In fact, a few saffron varieties may cost even more than gold. Here's a segment on the origin, use, and what makes saffron so expensive. Then we'll come back to the studio to introduce our next guest. Saffron is part of a flower called the saffron crocus. Inside the flower, there are three thin red threads called stigmas, which are manually plucked from inside the flower, dried, and sold as spice. The spice is used for cooking fish, rice, breads, confectionaries, and liquors in Persian, Arab, Indian, and European cuisine. Saffron is also used for medical purposes, perfumes, and as a coloring agent for food or materials. Actually, the yellow and red colors of Buddhist robes were originally achieved with the use of saffron, hence the name saffron robe. Saffron, known as the red gold, is the most expensive spice in the market because how labor intensive it is to grow and harvest. It takes 250,000 stigmas to produce 1 pound of saffron, sold in two main forms, threads or powder. Wholesale costs range from $500 to $5,000 per pound, while retail costs range from $5,000 to $10,000 per pound. The strength and the price of the spice depends on the presence of the red part in the stigmas. But, be prepared to spend anywhere between $5 and $25 for less than 1 ounce of saffron. Do you know that the word Nebraska means flat water in the Omaha tribe language? There are no mountains in Nebraska, just flat land. Now, you may wonder, how does this relate to saffron? No, we don't produce saffron here, but we have people here who come from countries that produce it, and I'm talking about Afghanistan. My guest today is Maryam Amini. Good to see you, Maryam.
Hello.
Thanks for being here today.
Thank you.
Yeah. So you're from your family's from Afghanistan.
Yes.
Can you walk me through a little bit about how you got to the United States?
My brother used to live here, and how he came here because his fiance used to live here.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then he sponsored us to come to the United States, and that's how we ended up
And
here.
that's you were about 10 years old when you got here.
Yes.
Yeah, and you came to Omaha.
Yes.
What do you think of Omaha? I mean, Nebraska's it's a flat land. It's not
Right.
like the mountains. I think Afghanistan has mountains as high as 25,000 feet. In Nebraska, I think
Yes.
we're only about 6,000 feet.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yes.
quite different.
It is quite different. Well, Nebraska is what I know, right?
Yeah.
It's home for me,
Yeah.
and I love it. I don't
Yes.
know if I can live in any other state
Yeah.
than Nebraska.
Well-
Although it's a question that I ask myself all the time.
I know,
too.
I do too.
Why did I stay here?
I still ask my question. I was born here.
Right.
Okay, listen. What are we making today? We're making rice pudding, right?
We're making rice pudding, yes.
Can you explain what is rice pudding?
Rice pudding, it's something traditional and also religiously too. A lot of people use it as well. So it's mostly used as a dessert, just at formal gatherings, or religiously. My mom usually makes them during Ramadan and distribute it to all friends.
Okay.
So big pot.
Sure, big. It comes in,
Yeah.
and we got a big
Yeah.
platter. We're gonna make
Yes.
we're gonna make a
Yeah.
big pot.
Yes.
Would you? What are the ingredients? Can we walk through some of the ingredients here?
Yes, of course.
Because it's not some of it's unique.
Yeah, it is. So saffron is the main thing to make it look. Zerd means yellow,
Okay.
so we call it shola zerd.
Okay.
So means yellow. If I translate it, yellow rice pudding.
Gotcha.
So the yellow comes from saffron,
Okay.
and that's where the flavor comes in.
Yeah.
So
And the saffron, where's the saffron at?
this is I brewed my saffron.
Okay, explain that process, because we don't have the actual, and we'll show you what, you saw what the saffron looks like in leaf form,
Right.
but this, you brewed this. How did this, how did you do this?
So to get the flavor and the color out, so what I do is just take the flakes of saffron out, just kind of ground them, and with your fingers, or press something on it to brew them, and then once it's brewed, add some warm water to it. And then after adding some warm water to it, make sure it's not hot, otherwise it will lose the flavor.
Okay.
And then add a piece of ice in it that will preserves the flavor in there.
Yeah.
And then just put it in the refrigerator.
And why do you do this process? Why can't you just use the saffron as is, as it comes, as a spice? Why do you brew it?
Because you don't get the color. Like, look at this. It's red
It
now,
is a
right? You
beautiful
see
red.
that? It's
It
red.
is.
So you get the most out of saffron
Yeah,
when you brew it.
yeah. And then how do you use it when you brew it?
Just you brew it, all the color comes in, right? So all you have to do is add that liquid in anything
whatever
that
dish
you
you're gonna
wanted.
prepare.
You could even make tea out of it.
Yeah.
So, boil water,
Yeah.
add saffron in it, or either the brew or the flake of saffron will work too. Put it in the hot water, let it steam, and enjoy it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
This right here, what is this?
That's rose water.
Now, rose water, it's not like bottled water that we're thinking about, right? Rose water is a little bit different. Can I try it though? I know you don't typically drink rose water.
Yeah, you go for it.
Is it really
Yes.
strong?
It's pretty strong, but it's tasty though. It's not going to be something that you're going to be ill.
I mean, I've done a few shots on my day. I've never done rose water shot. It has kind of a perfume smell to it.
Yeah, exactly.
It does. It tastes like flower water,
Yes.
kind of.
Yes.
It's strong, but it's not overpowering.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Okay. And so you use this to cook.
Yeah.
Okay.
As flavor,
Yeah.
just like vanilla we use usually, so that's rose water.
Let's go down the line here. What do we have?
So this is almond.
Almond.
So
Okay.
this is for garnishing, and also for our rice pudding. So
Okay.
we put some in our rice as well. So the cinnamon is for decoration, and also we're going to use some of the almond as well for garnishing once our rice pudding is cooked.
Okay.
That's cardamom. Cardamom is used for flavor as well. So we
Is
can.
it strong? You don't really eat these. It's just for flavoring, right?
It's for
Or do you-
flavoring. There are
Yeah, it doesn't
people
really
who,
smell like anything.
Yeah, you don't eat them just like that. So you put them in hot water. If some people, I don't know
Yeah.
if anybody would,
Okay.
love cardamom to eat cardamom like
Yeah.
that. But so yeah, it's used in tea and also in the rice just to give it a little bit of flavor.
Yeah.
And then we have some loose leaves of green tea.
Gotcha.
So
And do you use that? Do you put that in the dish, or are we just making tea
no,
on the side?
that's out of for tea.
For tea on the
'Cause-
side.
yes.
Okay. How often do you make this recipe? Is this like a family staple, or is this for Afghan culture? Is this a very common recipe?
It is very common, actually. It's more, as I said earlier, it's more used into formal gatherings as a dessert.
Right.
So we cook that, and then also in the month of Ramadan, we just make a lot of them to distribute to friends and family.
Have you adapted this recipe to your cooking style, or is this more traditional? This is kind of how a lot of Afghans do it.
There's a lot of different recipes to make this.
Gotcha.
So a lot of different ways. It's all like preferences of how some people uses milk,
Right.
the other uses water. So it just kind of depends. But yeah, it's my favorite. I have to have it.
Are Afghans very protective of their rice pudding recipe? Because as an Italian, it's hard. It's careful there. It's hard to. Italians don't want to share their pasta sauce recipe. I don't know if Afghans and their rice pudding is the same way.
No, it's not.
Okay.
Afghans are very generous
Okay,
in sharing.
Yeah, more
so-
generous than the
yeah,
Italians.
they like to share their recipes.
Okay, let's start making some of this. Because
Yeah, of
over here
course.
you have some rice. What have you done to the
Yes.
rice already over there?
So we have already just a little bit of going backward on this one. So gotta soak some rice the night before and make sure it's not very good quality rice.
So you don't want high quality rice?
No,
Okay.
no. It has to be the very
Is
low
it just
quality.
white rice?
So yes,
Yeah.
just white rice.
Short grain?
So they could break.
Long grain?
Yeah.
I don't even know what I'm talking about, but it sounds, those are rice words.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what I did, I soaked the rice last night. Today, just drained the water and just kind of, made sure it's kind of broken, all the pieces are, and then just put them in hot water, let it boil. So once it's boiled, it gets to this level.
Yeah.
So.
And then you put that in the fridge overnight and then brought it out back today and let it
No,
warm?
I did this
You did
morning.
this morning, okay.
I did this morning, so.
You warm that up and then we add ingredients to that.
Yes, then we can. As you can see, I already added the cardamom in there, just to give it the flavor.
Oh, you did put some cardamom in there?
I put some cardamom in there.
Okay, so it already has a little bit of flavor in there.
Yes, a little bit of, very mild of cardamom. So we probably need to add a little bit more water to this.
And so you just kind of stir it until you get it to the consistency that you want it to. So you kind of have to monitor that.
Yes.
I'm known for screwing a lot of recipes like this up,
Yeah.
right? So start with less water and then add as you go, probably, I assume.
Well, if it's, 2 cups of rice, we want to make sure at least 3 cups of water.
Oh, so more water than rice.
Yes,
Okay.
because as it boils, it kind of becomes more,
Yeah.
and so we need to make sure it has enough water to, so it's not going to stick.
Right.
Now we're going to add a little bit of water in there.
Okay. You want to get that to the perfect consistency.
Yes. Yes.
And how often do you make this recipe? Do you have a family? Do you have kids?
I do. My boys love it.
Do they?
Yes.
How often do you make it at home?
I go as they order.
Right.
At least twice a month, and then just putting some in the refrigerator and serve it the next day.
Is it good the next day? Is it some
Yes.
some dishes aren't as good the next day, but some dishes
Right.
are almost better.
But you have always have the options. It depends. I guess it's up to the person. It's the preference.
Yeah.
So if you use milk, usually you see the water, like the milk coming up or the water coming up. All you have to do is put it in the microwave and stir it
Right.
again. It
That
goes
makes
back
sense.
to the level.
Yeah.
But
You're getting some bubbles over there. It's starting to boil a
yes.
little bit. Is that what do you want it to boil a little bit?
yes. Yeah.
And then when we talk about the ingredients, so after it gets up to the temperature, the desired temp, then do you add ingredients slowly and then mix them?
So the next thing we will add would be our butter.
Okay.
And
I like
then,
the butter.
Yes.
Yeah. The almonds?
Almonds.
When it comes to tea,
Yeah.
tea is often
Saffron.
served, like you said, with this dish.
Yes.
Right? Is that pretty traditional to eat rice?
It is, because
pudding with
it's
tea?
part of dessert. Like, there's no Persian home with no tea. So
Right.
it's like, tea is a must
Yeah.
everywhere.
I
all
love
the
tea. I
time.
don't know why I don't drink more
Yeah,
tea.
it's just like as soon as somebody comes to your home, you're like, have some tea.
Right, tea. Here in the United States, it's a lot of coffee.
Yes,
But I love tea too.
yes.
I mean, do you drink coffee?
I do. In
Do you drink
mornings,
more tea?
I drink more tea.
Yeah.
But coffee is like maybe 2-3 times a week. but
Yeah. Or that's
that
every day?
one, 2-3 days.
Oh, 2 or 3 a day?
times a day.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
So you have it for
Morning,
breakfast, lunch, and dinner?
afternoon,
Yeah.
night, yes.
What kind of tea?
Normally green tea and some black tea as well.
When it comes to saffron, that's the ingredient that we're focusing on today.
Yes.
Saffron is grown in Afghanistan, is one of the main places. Like we said, Iran, a big producer.
Yes.
Afghanistan as well. Do you know much about how it's grown and how it's harvested?
I know the labor is very hard
Yeah.
because there's only like few flakes in every flower.
Right, and we saw in that
Has
piece
to be-
before.
It has to be picked
yeah.
very carefully so they don't break.
Yeah.
That's all I know about harvesting
Yeah.
it. But yeah, I
But
do
it's-
not know.
But it's really critical to the economics of
Yes.
Afghanistan. There have been a lot of changes in Afghanistan.
Yes.
Not a lot of them are good. But do you know what type of impact that will have? Traditionally, a lot of women have harvested
Yes.
saffron. Any
Yes.
idea? Like, what is I know there's been some political changes in there.
Mm-hmm.
How is that going to affect the harvesting of saffron? Any idea?
A lot of things are not, up to this point,
Yeah.
we don't know how things are going.
Sure.
We know it's going downward.
Sure.
But I'm not sure. My observation, I think that area, they would let the woman do the harvesting. Just because there's more women working together,
Sure.
rather than an office.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what I'm thinking. I
Well-
think it's just going to be, they let women do it.
Yeah, and speaking of women, you have 3 sisters that still live
Yes.
in Afghanistan. What do they do, and what are you hearing from them about some of the political changes that have occurred over the last 6 months?
It's not an easy change for them.
Yeah.
They're both, 2 of my sisters are like they're teachers.
Okay.
And they go to school that it's not really a school anymore.
Sure.
It's just by name, so they just make it look like it's a school, but
Right.
it's not really school. But at least they don't give up. They just keep going to school and try to contribute as much as they can possibly do.
Yeah.
So yeah, the changes are not very good.
Yeah.
No.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
When it comes to the food, though, the Afghans have some great food around the world. How's the rice pudding coming? Are we getting there on that?
Almost. We can add or other ingredients in.
Okay,
So,
let's do that. What do you want
yeah.
first? You want the butter?
So let's do the butter first. I'm
Okay.
going to take the cardamom out at this
Okay.
point, okay?
How many did
Since
you put in that
I
initial?
put in about like 5 or 6 of
Okay.
them in there. So yeah,
In this little dish.
so I think we got the flavor we needed it from cardamom. So we can remove that. And I'm going to put this down a little.
So you want to get it to boil and then maybe turn it down to a simmer after that?
Yes. Yeah, and also make sure that the rice is soft enough,
Okay.
cooked enough too. So,
Do you want that whole stick of butter?
no,
No,
I'm gonna put
okay.
like half of it in
Okay.
there. So maybe a little bit less than half, and then we can add up to it as we go.
When you think about the cuisine, the Afghan cuisine and the American cuisine, do you see any similarities or any differences? What have you seen?
There's no similarity.
There's no similarities.
I mean, some of the spices we may use the same, but
Yeah.
the dishes are pretty different.
Totally different. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. So the way we cook rice is different. The way we cook our every other thing is different. I mean, I don't know. I haven't thought of any similarities.
Yeah. When you came over, you were 10 years old.
Yeah.
Did it take a while to assimilate into American culture? Do you think when you first got here, you were eating more Afghan, Iranian food, and now as the years have gone by, you prepare more as you've learned
Yes.
American dishes?
Oh yes, yes, yeah. That's big now. My kids barely eat Afghan food. So yeah, I did not like pizza. Can you believe it? When I first came here.
When you first got here?
Yes.
Well, it's so different from anything you've
Yes.
probably ever had.
Yes, it was. Although, you know, I had pizza before back there, but it was different.
Yeah.
The sauce was different,
Sure.
the flavor was different, the cheese was different,
Yeah.
so it was just kind of.
Even when you go to Italy to have pizza, it's totally
Yeah.
different than how
Yeah.
we do pizza here.
And I was a picky eater too,
Were you?
so that can make a difference too. Yes. So now we're gonna add some almonds in there. So that's preference
Okay.
again.
Sure.
So it depends on how much you like in your rice pudding. If you like a lot of them in your rice, you can add as much as you prefer.
Do the almonds stay crunchy, or do they kind of soften as you cook it?
They soften. Normally, I soak them so they could become softer.
Yeah.
But I like them crunchy, so that's why
I was.
did not.
That's what I was going to say. I like the difference in texture.
Yeah.
When you eat it, give it a little crunch.
Yeah, exactly.
Occasionally, yeah.
Yes, exactly. So, so again, it's preference. You
Mm-hmm.
could soak it if you like it to be softer. You could add more or less. Again, I love more.
Yeah, I would think I would like more too.
Yeah. So
More of everything, really. You just blend all these
make it
ingredients
tastier.
together.
Yes.
We have a producer that spent some time in Greece and Albania, and I think she came across a flower right here. Okay. Any idea what this is? Is this saffron? Her husband picked it for her, and they thought it was saffron, but they're not exactly sure. What do you think?
It looks like it.
Could be.
Looking at the flakes right there. But the saffron flowers are, the way I have seen them, it's more purplish.
Yeah.
This is soft purple.
It is a soft purple.
Yeah. So, I mean, it looks like saffron.
To be continued. We don't know yet.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to get an expert in here to figure this out.
Right.
Should we
Alright.
add some more of these ingredients?
So, we're going to add sugar first.
Okay, sugar. And you're gonna use a lot
Let's
of
add
this.
sugar.
Requires a
Yes.
lot of sugar.
Yes, again, it's preference. It depends on like how sweet you want
Okay.
your rice pudding to be.
In America, people like things sweet.
Right.
But in Afghanistan, do they still use a lot of sugar?
For rice pudding,
For rice pudding, it's
yes,
still got
yes. So,
Sweeter the better.
yes.
Now, have you taught your kids? How old are your kids?
I have a 10 and a 9-year-old.
Are they, I mean, they're at the age where they can help you out now in the kitchen.
My older one, he likes to check some recipes online, and then usually he likes to make microwave cake.
Yeah.
So, but he hasn't tried this or traditional foods yet. No.
How important is that to teach them some of the traditional foods? Probably as they get a little more older.
I think it is important because that's how you pass on
Yeah.
the recipes,
Sure.
right? And
Yeah.
the traditions by teaching your children
Right.
how to do something. So I think my kids will learn them.
That's
Yes.
wonderful because you're first generation, and
Yes.
you know obviously they're second. And as the generations continue to go down, you want their kids to
Exactly.
understand their culture and where they
Yes.
came from.
Yes.
That's really important in community and
Very.
societies. That's kind of why we do this show, not only about the spice, but you know the culture aspect of it.
Right, right.
And for immigrants that move to a country, it's pretty important.
Yes,
So
yes, it is.
let's add some more ingredients. In the
So-
meantime, people out there, I just want to read this
Yes,
real quick.
of course.
The YouTube channel that you can go to subscribe. You also can go to newamericansmedia.com while you're there. You can subscribe. We got all the social media channels is there as well. So,
Okay, so
sorry to
now-
interrupt you, but where do we go
Okay.
next?
Now it's time for the saffron.
The
To add the
saffron.
saffron.
Okay, let's get the saffron.
And also our rose water as well.
Okay.
So let's add the rose water first. So again, rose water, usually you could kind of taste it to kind of see where you want your sugar to be.
Add a little bit.
Yes, and your rose water to be. So at least we need this much. So it's about probably 4 or 5 tablespoons.
Okay.
So
Like any good home chef, you don't measure a whole lot. You just kind of add
yes,
to
Yeah.
taste.
yeah,
So we're going to let this cook in. We're going to add some of those ingredients.
yes. So now we're gonna add the saffron in. So
There you go. That's where you
yeah,
add the
that's
color.
where you get the color, yes. And again with saffron, the same thing. So you put some on, stir, and see if it is yellow enough.
Yeah. How do you know when do you want it a bright yellow? How do you know how much?
Yes.
What's the look?
Normally it should be the bright yellow.
And that's starting to get fairly
yes,
bright the
it
more
does.
you mix it.
Yes, I think we put it enough
Yeah.
to get that color.
Can you overdo it?
You can. It's preference, so
Yeah.
you can do it. Yeah.
And I imagine some of this is trial and error. If you're going to be cooking this at home, you know, try this recipe out.
Yes.
Add as you seek
Yeah.
for taste.
Yeah, I would add a little bit more to
Yeah.
this one. So,
Well, this will be good because you can add it, and then we get to the correct color and
Yes.
consistency.
yes.
Then people can see what it looks like.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
I love the color of that. And I'm really looking forward to tasting this. It's starting to.
Yeah, as you
become very
probably
appealing.
can smell, you could smell it now. You can smell the rose water and also the saffron together. It just makes
it
it
is. You can start to smell it
amazing.
now.
Yes.
Okay, so we have our tea poured. How did you make the tea?
Very simple.
Yeah.
Boil water and then add some loose green tea leaves
Yep.
in it and some cardamoms,
Yeah.
few of the cardamoms. Just break them into pieces
Yep.
in there and let it steam for 5 minutes.
And it smells
That's
great, and
ready.
it's a great dish for the rice pudding. Let's get the
Yes.
rice pudding.
All right.
Let's serve this up because it's almost done. Different countries have different consistencies on the rice
Yes.
pudding. This, you usually like it to be a little thicker than this, but unfortunately for time's sake, we're going to
Yes.
serve it up now.
Right.
But it's still good. It just depends on what region
Yes.
you're from as to the
Right.
consistency. Like you said, other countries like it
Yeah,
more
especially
runny.
India and Pakistan, it's really runny.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. But you prefer it a little thicker than this.
A little thicker, yes. That's preferable to make it cholazard.
Yep.
Right.
I am going to try to make this for my kids, by the way. I think they'll like this.
Yes.
It's a fun yellow, too. Okay. Do you do anything else?
Yes, and then the decoration part of it.
Oh, great.
That's where the cinnamon comes in.
Okay.
So cinnamon makes it taste much better,
Right.
and also for decorative garnishing purpose. So just you can decorate it anyhow you like.
Oh, I
That's your
see.
creative
Yes.
mind. That's where your creativity comes
Awesome,
in.
yeah. And I'll try it. I'm
Yeah.
excited. Might be a little hot, though. That's fantastic. That's very unique. That's a unique flavor. I don't think I've tasted a flavor like that before.
Yeah.
I can't even compare it to Indian food. It's a little bit different than some
Very
of the Indian
different.
foods that I've had.
Yes, yes, because their spices are kind of a little bit more stronger. Yeah.
That is fantastic, Miriam. Thanks for being on the show today. Real quick, we just want to thank the American Muslim Institute of Omaha for the work they do here. Also, go online, check us out, newamericans.media.com. You can also go to our social media pages, our YouTube channel, subscribe to that, and you'll be good to go. Thanks, Miriam, again. We appreciate it.
problem.
Thank you for
Thanks
watching
for
out
having
there.
me.
Go out there, have a great day. OMA and USA.